This is DesignSafe Radio, where natural hazards researchers strive to make our society more resilient to everything nature throws at us.
I'm thinking of just my very limited field experience of going about a month after Hurricane Harvey into the Beaumont, Texas area, and just seeing some of those homes that especially were subject to storm surge just ripped off the foundation, the straps that were holding them down just sheared off. Is there some of that data that you're talking about that could maybe inform these communities ahead of time of the hazards that are present in ways that maybe would help them to understand a little bit about what they're up against and maybe make some changes within their power? Maybe not the homeowners themselves, but the communities that support them.
So, right. I mean, I think I hear what you're saying, and that, you can have local amendments to codes, right? And that's what you see a lot actually in the Southeast and other parts of the country too. But just speaking about the hazards that we're talking about, you see a lot in the Southeast of local amendments to building codes. So even if they adopt a certain version of the International Building Code or International Residential Code, they may say, like, I know the fortified standard is adopted on top of the building code in a lot of those different localities. And so that's like at the city level that those adoptions are made. And I think those types of amendments are made because of exactly what you're talking about, observations from past experience. The research body has built up enough. And then also, though, in the case of the fortified standard, right, there is something readily available to be adopted too. Most communities, they don't have the capacity to do their own research. They don't have the capacity to design their own standards. So they have to really take what's existing and not kind of come up with their own types of solutions, right? And so that's what I think in manufactured homes we really need more of, is just things that are ready to go, ready to be adopted. And what you even talked about after Hurricane Harvey is a lot of what we saw in Florida is there are changes that were made over time and localities adopted about the foundation requirements for manufactured homes, and that they need to be engineered systems that are really grounding them or keeping them attached to the ground. But yeah, we see, we definitely saw it in our study after Hurricanes Irma and Michael from the wind speed. As we approached the coast a little bit more, we did see it from some flooding or storm surge, and right, it just picks the home up, rips those braces or those straps right out of the ground and floats the home off. Yeah, so I mean, more needs to be done.
And that kind of gets into our last question for today. It's just that intersection of social science and engineering, all this examining manufactured housing and the performance during hurricanes, just shows how folks like you who are at that intersection are so critical to this body of research. So can you talk a little bit about that connection between social science and engineering research and what you do, and then what other colleagues of yours are doing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned earlier that people living in manufactured homes are more often, poor or lower income. They're more often have disabilities. They're more often non-English or non-native English speakers, right? They're more often underinsured. I talked about the different tenancy, that they may own the unit but not the land. And all of this becomes really relevant when we think about the bigger picture of disasters, right? It's not just on the design side of the structure too, but we can't design structures to withstand all the extreme loading, right? At some point there's a limit. I think that limit should be a lot higher than what it is right now, but at some point there's still a limit. And so then what infrastructure, what systems do we have in place to help these people go through recovery? And that's where tenancy questions and things like that become super relevant as well. And so if we're getting, and so both of those pieces, understanding, okay, but when disruptions do occur, how can we get people back on their feet again, is just as important as understanding how can we be robust and not, reduce the amount of damage and disruption from the beginning, right? And so, that's what I try to study. And I think it's super critical with a structure type like manufactured homes, because, we are talking about some of the most socially vulnerable people living in some of the most physically vulnerable structures, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important. There's active research, really looking at how mobile home parks, return after disasters. And again, we've seen some improvements there as well, because now, manufactured parks, I don't remember the number of units that are there in order to meet this qualification, but you have to have a storm shelter or tornado shelter, right? In many areas of the country. And so anyways, you see improvements occurring over time. So that's good, but certainly a lot more to be made.
Sounds like you're kind of getting to that concept of community resilience that a few of our guests have talked about, of flattening out that trough after an event. So an event happens, we have a dip in life experience, everybody's going through something tough, and then there's a trough of the, figuring out what's gone wrong and starting to begin the recovery, and then coming out of that trough and, maybe not getting back to that full level at the beginning, and that intersection between civil engineering and social science and policy can help, maybe not eliminate it, but at least reduce that trough a bit. It sounds like that's kind of what you're getting at with your research.
Absolutely right. It's trying to reduce how far that drop goes and trying to increase how fast that trough, how that recovery line comes up. And hopefully it doesn't stop where we were pre-disaster, right? But even keeps going so that we're building back better, right? And learning and not building back the same pre-disaster vulnerabilities.
One would hope.
There's one more thing I did want to share. I should have mentioned it earlier when we were talking about impact. So I do. So one of the things that I have recently been excited about, it's kind of in the works right now, but also official. We're just kind of getting started. And that's the Florida Division of Emergency Management picked up on our research. And
wow, great.
They've funded us. So it's the PI is Arindam Chaudhuri at Florida International University, but partnering with me and my colleague Tong Dao at the University of Alabama, who I did the Hurricane Michael and Irma study with. And so they funded us to study more about manufactured housing. And so I think through this project, especially if we get, it's a 1-year project, renewable for, I think it's 5 years or so at a time. So kind of depending on how successful we are, right, we'll get to do a lot of the research that we were talking about needing to do in order to really inform those building code type
That's
changes
great.
for manufactured homes. So we're really excited about that. One of the first things that we're doing is reaching out to colleagues and other people we've seen studying manufactured homes, whether primarily for windstorms. So we're looking at hurricanes and tornadoes, though, and certainly a range of disciplines like we've talked about too. So we're reaching out, trying to build kind of a technical, not necessarily a committee, but a group of people who want to see these changes, right? And making sure then what we're doing in our project is reflective of all of our learnings about what the big problems are. And so anyways, I'm super excited about that. And I think as a researcher, I don't know if this is true. It's true for me. Just have to be like hopeful and optimistic, right? So anyway, so definitely I'm super hopeful and optimistic that we'll reach the potential of this project.
Yeah. It sounds like, especially with Arindam involved, there may be some physical testing down at the Wall of Wind involved in that.
That's part of it, absolutely.
Which is super exciting, and can't wait to see how that goes.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been down to FIU in a couple of years either, so I've been trying to get some research active in that lab. It's just, the lab is so capable and so amazing, and so I'm really excited to be able to test manufactured homes, and we'll do large scale, like 1 to 5 scale models.
Oh, wow.
They're not that big, right? But then, we'll simulate wind speeds around grouped units so that we can kind of see if there's different mobile home park arrangements and the interference effects with homes, as well as then should be able to get a real full scale manufactured home in there and test it too. So we're excited.
Wow. Well, definitely keep us in the loop so we can get some videos of that out. That sounds absolutely really amazing, and just can't wait to see all the things that you and Arindam and the rest of the team are going to be putting together. Always fun to chat with you. Just every time we get to talk, I learn something, which is great. And really, really looking forward to everything you have going on in your research career. Where can folks follow along with you as you start putting out data or other things that you're working on publicly?
Yeah, I have my thanks, Dan. It's super excited to be here with you today too. So thanks for inviting me on. I've got my website. This is people.ku.edu, and then the tilde sign. It's a terrible website name, but
we'll put a link to it.
Yeah, E244J869. It's yeah. It was, I didn't get anyway. So you can follow me on that website, but always, as soon as we're getting data, I've been an advocate and of someone who gets their data published on DesignSafe, right? So you can see it there as basically as fast as we can get it there. We try to get it there.
Great. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes for folks so they can follow along. Again, really appreciate having you here, and always good to see you. And hopefully we'll see you at the Wind Engineering Conference in Lubbock in May. We'll see.
Absolutely.
As my mom says, Lord Wind and the creek don't rise. Knocking on all the wood around here. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you there. And if not, definitely we should chat again soon for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
Have a great day, Elaina. Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of DesignSafe Radio. This show is sponsored by the National Science Foundation grant number 1612144. You can subscribe to DesignSafe Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find your podcasts. Please leave us a review so we can improve the show. Please also help others find our episodes in iTunes. Thanks for your feedback and support. You can find out more about NARI at designsafe-ci.org, on Facebook at DesignSafe Radio, or on Twitter at NARI DesignSafe.